Hello, everybody. Welcome to the High Holy Days. We have this 10-day period between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah started last night at sundown, and it's still going on today. And then technically, the Rosh Hashanah celebratory period goes from sundown on the new moon in Libra, I guess, or like in the 7th month of the Jewish calendar, for 48 hours, and it ends 2 nights later. So for us, it would be on Friday night. And then 10 days after this, we have Yom Kippur, I think counting from the first day of Rosh Hashanah. So I believe Yom Kippur is on October the 12th, but I'll be honest, I need to double check that. But I did want to make a quick video for all of us that are trying to celebrate. Yesterday, I talked about how in Jewish tradition, Rosh Hashanah is the day that God sits down and writes everybody's karma into the book for the year. They don't use that word. That's not a Jewish word. But he basically takes the sum total of what you've done in your life, uses it to project your destiny, writes it in the book of life, and then sits on it for 10 days. And on Yom Kippur, according to Jewish legend, that's when God says, done, set in stone, this is how your life's going to go this year. So you have 10 days in between God writing out your destiny and God sealing your destiny to change your destiny. I don't know if that's true. I mean, I don't have a testimony of it, but I sure am intrigued by the concept. And I feel like anything that encourages you to get your life better and like make yourself right with God and other people is always a blessing. And so I'm in support of it. And I wanted to make some videos every day if I can get myself to do it, to help us just remember this and to keep this at the front of mind if that's something that we want to do at this time. But today, I've been wanting to make this video for months, and I have not. I want to talk about the power of rudeness, like being impolite. Impoliteness versus politeness, like rude. That's what I'm talking about. The power of being rude. Um, because I think that this is something that kind of gets into a lot of our blind spots, and we cause a lot of problems in our own lives due to our own rudeness. And becoming aware of that and choosing to shift it can make a huge difference. So, in my life, I have been exposed to many rude people, as I'm sure we all have, but the people that have made the most impact on me were a couple who are very polite to other people and desperately rude to each other. And this is the kind of dynamic that you don't typically see except in private, unless sometimes it's so rude that like the rudeness bleeds out into public. And I've seen that many times where really fabulous people that I really love and respect and admire, they're really nice to everybody. And then their spouse shows up and they're really mean to them. Like they're just rude to them. And so before I got married, I was aware of this dynamic in a number of couples that I had seen, and I just told myself, I never want to be rude to my husband. Like, I don't want to be rude. And I never liked being rude. I had a reputation even in like middle school and even in elementary school for being like an extraordinarily polite child that like was just polite. I don't know. I just said my please and thank yous, and I just tried to be very like even-handed in my discussions of things with people. And I haven't always been perfect, of course. I mean, like, I don't know, maybe you can think of some rude things that I've said, and I'm sorry. I try not to be rude, and it is a guiding principle of my life to not do that because I feel like it just causes problems. But especially in marriage, I just said to myself before I got married, I said, okay, I'm gonna think about these different rude couples. And my guiding principle in my marriage has always been like whenever something comes up, how can I handle it not the way that they do? Like how can I not be snarky and mean to my spouse? How can I handle this without being rude? So what even is rudeness? Let's go look it up. Define rude. Okay, it says offensively impolite or ill-mannered, having a startling abruptness. Um, roughly made or done, lacking subtlety or sophistication. The archaic use of the term was ignorant and uneducated. So that's kind of interesting. Another thing that they say rude can mean, it can refer to a taboo subject in a way that is considered improper and offensive. Okay. Okay, but we're talking about being offensively impolite or ill-mannered. So I mean, here's the thing. So I had somebody was telling me about an interaction that she had with somebody in her life, and when she kind of rehearsed it to me, I just thought, oh my, like this was very rude. Like, like you were rude, but I like didn't feel like I could necessarily say that so clearly. I think I did. I think I just said, I'm sorry. What I'm going to say is not very nice, but I have to tell you that I think that your behavior was kind of rude. Because I don't like, I mean, it's impolite to point out other people's rudeness. It just is. It is not polite to say, wow, you're rude. That's rude. Like it's rude to say that. But to me, having politeness as a core personal value just simplifies your life in a whole lot of ways. Oh, hello. Here comes Danielle to say hello to everybody. Danielle gave herself a small haircut this week, so that is very fun. Um, okay, I want to look up. Here we go. If you Google up good manners definition, oops, is one of the top things that shows up. Okay, and it says niceness, politeness, a courteous manner that it respects accepted social usage, polished courtesy, elegance of manner. Okay, what does it mean to show good manners? The treatment of other people with courtesy and politeness and showing correct public behavior. So let's look up courtesy. And here we have polite speech or action, the showing of politeness in one's attitude and behavior towards others. So how are they defining politeness? Behavior that is respectful and considerate of other people. You know what? That's really what this comes down to. Being polite is really being the embodiment of respect and consideration for other people and recognizing that they have different views than you. They see the world differently than you. And it's this understanding that even though they may disagree with you very strongly on things that you feel very strongly about, you can still treat them with respect. And I guess you could say, like, I care about politeness, but really what I care about is respect and trying to be respectful to other people. When we are disrespectful to other people in any relationship, people feel it and it makes them defensive. It makes them want to fight back. Who likes being disrespected? Who likes being called out on their crap? Who likes being accused of things? Who likes feeling like other people have made an accusation without really like reasoning through what they're saying? Who loves that? Like nobody loves that. Here is the big thing that I've been thinking about so much is that rudeness is really powerful and it can be very destructive. I think that it has a lot of power in a lot of different ways because when anybody is rude to anybody, our souls like react to that. If somebody is rude to somebody else at the restaurant, like people take notice. We notice it. Our souls really don't like these kinds of interactions, but we find them intriguing. This is one reason why things like comments on like Instagram posts or like Facebook posts or whatever, like things that are rude get a lot of attention because we are primed to attend to this issue. And one thing coming into my mind right now is this concept of like honor-based societies where the worst thing that you can do is not be wrong. The worst thing that you can do is be humiliated. And having somebody be rude to you in many cultures historically, like people would kill you over that. Like if you say that about me or my mom, like I'm just gonna chop off your head. Like that has been like a true thing that a lot of cultures have really run with. And so I don't know, like in our culture, I mean, like Western American culture is a guilt-based culture where the primary concern that we feel like is, oh, am I guilty? But in many cultures, even today, honor is the real thing. And if you're not polite to them, like that is a life or death situation for you. Um, and so I think we have definitely seen how we banned duels. We moved most of our discourse to the internet where no one can actually see each other or throw a punch over something. And all of a sudden, our discourse has gotten so much ruder. The reason why, polite society existed and there were so many like norms around speech and how you could refer to people, calling people Mr. or Mrs., referring them by a title, what you could or couldn't say as far as your speech, like so much of that came down to not triggering other people around you in a world a lot more connected to our instincts, and the natural man loves to throw a punch if people threaten its ego, you know? And I'm thinking like scripturally, the natural man is an enemy to God. That's part of why we need to get rid of our ego so that we can handle it when people say horrible things to us without wanting to actually hurt them in response. To me, that's like a big deal. And but I don't know. Here we are. We're in this society where where we are ruder than we have ever been before, and people feel very safe to be rude. They feel very safe to say things that they would never say to another person's face because they were separated by a screen. And of course, in text, like in the written word, tone of speech, is not always conveyed very appropriately. In one of my audiobooks, I mean, like my only audiobook that's out, somebody told me that they had read the original text and they had assigned a tone of speech to this text that was kind of cruel and kind of mean and mocking. And then she listened to the audiobook and heard me crying while I'm saying these words and saying them with kindness. And she said, "Oh my gosh, like I read this totally wrong. This is not what was implied. And I didn't realize until I heard the tone with which it was said." And this is something that, I mean, it's a game we have to play in the modern world. It's a game that the ancients had to play too. Even the old guys with their scrolls, like the written word does not convey the same tone that an in-person conversation does. And sometimes we pay the price for that. And one of the prices that we pay is that a lot of us feel a lot more, um, free to say a lot of things that maybe we wouldn't say if we were with the people in real life, right? Um, as far as the positive power of rudeness, I don't know. I personally, I like don't really necessarily believe in a positive power of rudeness. I haven't thought that much about it, so don't hold it against me. I might come back to it. But I was just thinking of how Tony Robbins, I read his book. I listened to some kind of thing that he did one time on audiobook like 10 years ago. It's been a while, so don't think I'm a Tony Robbins devotee. I like am basically not. Um, but my cousin went to a real life event with him, and he said he was absolutely floored because he just dropped the F-bomb every 5 seconds. And he said, "I drop the F-bomb every 5 seconds because it wakes people up and puts them into this like fight or flight kind of mode where they're like more attentive and they pay better attention." And I think that that is, true. It might be less true now that so many people have decided to take that tack, that the word has lost a little bit of its power that it used to have. That's my vision anyway, my opinion. But there are some people out there that are trying to use rudeness for good. That's all that I'm saying. And I think that there is a case to be made for that. I may not agree with that case, but there is that case to be made. Um, but here's the thing that I really wanted to mention is that I think a lot of times people who are very rude may not realize how rude they are being. I think that a lot of times rudeness is a trigger response. It's the default setting. I mean, what it is defensiveness. Rudeness, I think at its core in many cases, probably not all cases, but in many cases, it is a form of defensiveness, verbal defensiveness, where somebody says something to us, our hackles go up. Do you know what that means? Like on an animal, like they're like having a physiological response where they're saying, I'm being attacked. I need to attack back or dissuade them from attacking me back by issuing a threat of my own. And so that is when I think that's when the default setting is to be rude. And when we do that, unfortunately, it causes the same response in the person that we're rude to. So all of a sudden, we're playing into this two-way street of escalating rudeness and hard feelings. Okay. And I do not love that. And I do have people that are rude to me in my real life, and I try to always be the force of de-escalation. It's hard when you have a lot of ego involved in whatever they're talking about, and it gets a lot easier as you realize, like, this is not about you. Like, nothing in your life, nothing from other people in your life is about you. We all, we experience our own experience, but to other people, no one sees us as we truly are. They see their projection of us and they react to that and they think they're interacting with that and they're not. We all kind of are interacting with the facade of other people to a large extent. I do believe that you can like feel a true connection to somebody and like really like see their soul to some extent, not like God sees their soul or something like that, but like I believe that you can have a true human connection with somebody. At the same time, most of our connections with other people, especially in day-to-day life, especially in those little interactions in between other stuff as you're negotiating logistics and you're like figuring out stuff and what's going on. A lot of times what we're interacting with in those kinds of situations are our projections of other people and not the truth. We are projecting who they are and interacting with our idea of that. And that is really true with rude people. With people that consistently default to rudeness, what is happening is they are feeling extremely defensive. Okay, I'm sorry. Pause. This is my diagnosis, and I could be wrong, and that's fine. But you feel it out for yourself. Allie's diagnosis is that when people are consistently rude to other people, these are people with a lot of unhealed trauma. They have a lot that they need to dig through in their own souls so that they can heal their lives and not feel like they have to defend themselves all the time. If they are feeling like they constantly have to be on the offensive, that is that's a rough life, And if a person who always feels like they have to be on the offensive is exposed to anything, they're gonna be on the offense back to it. I mean, so over the summer, I was exposed to an incredibly rude conversation that I was not a part of. I just happened to like be in the same place where it happened, and it was astonishing. I mean, it blew my mind because the instigator of the conversation was not rude. This person just said, I've been looking for this thing and I can't find it. And this person said it just like that. And the other person said, well, if you didn't always just like do all this stuff, I mean, I've been trying really hard. I've been trying my best to make sure that everything can be found really easily. No, 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 no. And this other person just like went off. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is first off one of the rudest interactions I've ever seen. And the other person wasn't even rude. But like what is happening is here we have a person who has told themselves a narrative that they are under attack and that they need to fight back. As long as you are in, I'm under attack, I need to fight back mode, rudeness is going to be the default setting. That's my opinion. It's really hard to be polite to people and be respectful of people if you do not feel respected. But the problem is a lot of us expect to feel respected because other people should be respecting us. No. Way to be a victim, right? Like that doesn't make sense. Like it makes sense very externally, but when you dig into it, it does not make sense because it outsources your power to everybody else. If you are waiting to feel respected until other people respect you, you've got it backwards. We have to respect ourselves. This is just my opinion. Take it or leave it. But my opinion is you have to respect yourself. Your feelings of being respected need to come from inside of you. And as long as we are expecting them from other people and then not feeling it, we've got a big problem, and it can prime us to be on the attack when it maybe is not warranted. One thing I thought with that one conversation I just told you about, I thought, man, if I had a tape recorder here and I played this conversation back to this person, what would they think of it? Would they realize how rude they had been? Would they realize how completely impolite and disrespectful they had been? And I truly don't know. I truly don't know because I have had a very small amount of conversations where I have felt comfortable to say, maybe your problems are because you were really rude in this situation. So I have not had a lot of experience with this. So just to be, very upfront about it, but the times that I have not gotten the sense that the person realized how rude they were, or if they did, they felt very defensive about it. Well, what does he expect? I should talk to him that way. Like, do you know what he did to me? And it's like, okay, well, like I get that, but here's the deal. Everybody does horrible and annoying stuff to everybody else. I mean, like, who gets to waltz through life without offending anybody? No one. Like, who gets to waltz through life without being annoying to anybody, to nobody? You know what I'm saying? Nobody gets to walk through life without ever irritating anybody. That's just not how it goes. Even if it's just an infancy, taking care of infants is really hard. And frankly, it can be a little annoying. I mean, like, I love babies. I love having babies. I have loved caring for my babies. But in like the real, most reality filled use of the word, like it is hard to get up in the middle of the night every 2 hours for months with a baby, like guess what? All of us, have things that we do and need that are annoying to other people. And all of us have people that annoy us, from time to time. And I feel like that can change. And I feel like I'm significantly less annoyed by the people in my life that I used to find like very annoying. Now I'm kind of like, whatever, which is a much healthier place to be, I think. And in my opinion, I think that this is the goal. Like, that's been the goal of my life. Can I please coexist with people I find extremely annoying and like be a force for good in their lives anyway, And so I'm like very pleased to say there are very few people in my life now that I think are annoying. And actually, I actually cannot think of any that I could name right now, which is really nice. Like there's people that I know they don't like to be around me. And I don't like that. And so because of that, I prefer to not be around them, but I used to be the kind of person that was so annoyed by people that I would like stay up all night and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that person. Oh my gosh. And those days are behind me, which is very nice. Um, anyway, I think that it is a worthwhile use of our time to really self-assess and see like, where am I being rude? Where could my words be misconstrued? Where could my tone be misconstrued or accurately construed and very inappropriate? So in my own life, I try very hard to not be rude. I am embarrassed to say that I still am rude to my children, any overstimulated mom can tell you that time when everyone is crying at the same time and they hate the dinner you made and somebody needs a diaper change and someone lost their shoe. Well, it's dinner time, you don't need your shoe now anyway. Too bad, they're gonna cry about it. And then you're sitting there. I mean, like I speak from personal experience and I'm like, shut up, everybody, shut up. That's not polite. I have a lot of grace for overstimulation, and I don't know. I do wish that I handled those kinds of situations with more grace than I always have. Um, I feel like I'm a work in progress, but we're still progressing. But guess what? We're progressing. So anyway, the point is that in my marriage, this is like a top priority to me to be polite. Like, and we really are. But I started thinking about this video months ago, and then maybe 3 weeks ago, I had a situation where I was like very angry with my other half. And oh my gosh. I didn't want to like have a real conversation about it. I'm all about vulnerable communication, which I write about in my book, Magnetic Femininity. But in the moment, I was so angry. I just did not want to have that conversation. And so he had to go and do something, and he's like, I have to go. And I was like, fine. And I never talk like that. And after that, he like slammed the door, and I was like, what did I just do? So I had to text him and say, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to like I didn't mean to be mean like that. And I just told him like, look, I'm having a hard day. I'm not happy about these different things. Like I'm feeling really sad and really stressed and I'm just sorry and I hope that we are okay. And guess what? When he came home, everything was fine again. But I was really glad that I don't know. Guess what? Sometimes I'm still rude. And I do not like it about myself. And I try to make it right. So what does this have to do with Rosh Hashanah? Rosh Hashanah as is the day of remembrance, and it's supposed to bring into our memory all the things that we have done wrong in our lives so that we can repent of them and make ourselves right with God and with other people. It's a day of reconciliation with other people in our lives, or 10 days of reconciliation, where we're supposed to go to other people that have hurt us or who we have hurt and make things right with them. And I just felt like this is something I wanted to talk about today because it's been on my mind for a while, but I think this is an extra, yes, sorry. I was going to say excessively, but no, an extra powerful time to really engage in self-assessment, particularly, I mean, around everything, but also around this issue. If you know that you engage in a lot of rudeness in your conversations with other people, hi, hey, go play, baby. If you know that you, can you give me 5 minutes? I'll go change your diaper in 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm gonna change your diaper in 5 minutes. Um, if you know that you have a propensity towards being rude to other people, this is a great time to really look inward and see, why do you feel a need to attack people? why do, why is that a default setting for you? This is also probably a time to think about, um, I'm sorry, let's back up, because one thing that I really wonder is how many people have an accurate view of how rude or polite that they are. Because like with some of these people that I was talking about, like, you observe these people out in public, being nice to everybody and rude to their spouse. And it just kind of makes you wonder, like, do they realize how rude they are being or not? Or like people on the internet, they're like saying all this mean stuff. And it's like, do they know the effect that they are having on people or not? And I truly don't know. Like, I truly don't know, because I feel like for me, I just have always been like very attuned to issues of politeness or rudeness for whatever reason. Like, since I was a kid, that felt like important to me, even though I've been rude in my life, like I would know it. I feel like probably most of the time I was rude, I was aware that I was being rude, and so I don't know. Here are ways that you can tell that you may be dealing with your own personal rudeness to other people. First off, if you're rude to yourself in your mind, that is not a good place to be. And rudeness to yourself can bleed out into rude behaviors to other people, because if you're engaged in self-hatred, um, that can just bleed out to other people. Second, if other people are feeling like, if you feel like you're always embroiled in conflict and like misunderstandings and disagreements and things like escalate, a lot of times it's because of rudeness that we are perpetuating. So I adminned this massive group, it has 170,000 members. I adminned that group on Facebook for 5 years, I think. And I was always the one that was called in to kind of calm everybody's nerves and just say, thank you to everyone for participating in this discussion. I can see that everybody has some very strong opinions, and it does not look like anybody's going to change their mind anytime soon. But the one thing that we can all hopefully agree on is mutual respect. And so I'm inviting everybody to, let this thread go and to move forward. Knowing that I am deeply grateful for everything you've contributed to this thread. You've all given us a lot of things to think about. Okay. I feel like that is like a very effective way to like shut down an argument. But a lot of times in these arguments, people just get so vicious and so nasty. Um and really there's a lot of disrespect for varying opinions. Like, a lot of times the people that struggle the most with being polite to other people are the ones that really feel like, that have very like black and white thinking, that like, this is right and this is wrong, there is no gray area, how dare you not agree with me, I better attack you until you get it. No, 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 no. And they don't hold space for somebody else's opinion. And I think that one of the saddest things about this kind of situation is that um the people that feel so strongly about these kinds of things are so powerful when they like speak out about them so powerfully. But when you couch that kind of thing in the form of an attack, people go on the defensive. Even if you're right, people go on the defensive. And I don't know, if you feel like you're constantly having to defend yourself against other people, and if you're feeling like other people have to defend themselves against you, this is a rudeness issue. And if we can step back, and even if you don't truly feel it, even if you don't truly believe that their opinion is valid, if you can at least like wrap your mind around the idea that maybe, I mean, like, maybe it's okay for people to be wrong sometimes, maybe it's okay for them not to agree with you about everything, then we can, move forward. We can move forward from that, and you can say, you know what, I can see that we have some big disagreements, and that's okay. And I think that you're still a good person, and I don't mean to offend you. That's just how I feel. Coming from a space like that, that is going to be way more powerful in helping people change their hearts if that's the right thing for them. And honestly, I don't think everybody in the whole world has to agree with everything. I don't think everybody has to think all the same things are right and wrong. I just don't personally believe that. My own personal view is that we're all on our own different journeys. We all have our own very specific set of things that we wanted to learn, that we still want to learn, that we want to experience. And as we go through that, um, I mean, it's just fine. Like it's just safe for people to have differing opinions. What I think is unwise is for people to have those differing opinions and be cruel about it and be rude about it and be attacky about it. You know, there can be a time and a place for that. Like I would never say, you know, that you shouldn't speak what you feel is true because it could be construed as an attack. I'm thinking of like P. Diddy and all of this crazy stuff that he's been accused of that we all knew was happening for like over a decade. Like this is not like new information for most people, right? But like is it mean to say those things? Like no, I don't think so. Um you know, there's ways to interact with different in situations and different people from a space of respect, from a space of giving them the benefit of the doubt, from a space of just honoring that we're not always right all the time. You know, like, can we hold space for ourselves to be wrong and for other people to be wrong? Like, can we hold space for the fact that most people are wrong about mostly everything most of the time, including ourselves? Like the more we accept, like, yeah, I'm usually wrong, it's okay. um that is a really powerful thing. The more we can step into a knowledge of our own self-worth and the less we can have it tied to other people's opinions of us, um the more the easier it is when people go on the rampage to realize that it's not a personal thing, you know. And that's really what this all comes down to. Being polite makes it so that the issue is less personal. It depersonalizes this issue. It stops the situation from being an attack and creates a discussion where people are allowed to have differing opinions. You know, it creates an environment where people feel safe to express themselves honestly because they know that even if they say something that you disagree with, you're going to be nice about it. Um, this thing is coming into my mind of somebody in my real life who like hates my work, and fortunately I don't interact with this person like very much, but I do like a couple times a month, which is I guess kind of a lot. But this person knows that I have very different opinions than her about like a lot of different stuff, and she relentlessly brings up everything that she knows that I disagree with, and she just like cannot let it go. It's like incredible. And but like, it's okay. You know, 10 years ago, I'd have been like, well, guess what, honey? I disagree. And I would have like, you know, really made my case. And I think, frankly, I would have done an excellent job and totally slayed that discussion. But these days, when she brings this stuff up, I just smile. Like, there's just not a reason to make this situation rude, you know? Um, I think that there is something to be said for the fact that we don't talk about politics and religion at the dinner table, as people say. Like, I think we've lost a lot of good conversational skills. Um, at the same time, I do feel like we have to be wise about how we bring those kinds of things into different conversations and how we present our arguments. And, you know, this one person that like loves to like bring things up and like talk about them for like half an hour at a time while I just like listen, you know, she I don't think she would handle it well, like emotionally, if I just said, you know what? I think you're wrong. Here's some data. And you know, here's the facts. You know, I don't think she'd handle it. And I don't know. I don't think it's wrong to be sensitive to where other people are at in their lives. You know, I feel like that is one of the best ways that we can serve other people is to meet them where they are at. And if that person is being rude, you and me, choosing to be the force of neutralization to neutralize that rudeness at the source and let it die with us is so powerful. It is just so powerful. Okay, here we go. Happy Rosh Hashanah. um, here's the homework that I wanted to invite everybody to consider. I would love for us to do a little inventory about where we are rude to people. When have we been rude to people? Um, Why were we rude to them? Was it a knee-jerk response? Was it premeditated? We like thought ahead of time of our little rude thing we were going to say to just be a little barb to their soul. Why did we do that? Why does it feel unsafe to just be polite? Why does it feel unsafe to hold space for other people to have opinions and stuff that we disagree with? Why might we feel an urge to attack other people who disagree with us? Um, why why might we reject grace? Okay. Before we call it a day, I do want to talk about grace for just a minute because this is something that I've been like thinking about a lot. Um, I mean, like for a very long time. For a very long time, but I love this concept of grace. Um, okay, in Christianity, I just pulled up the definition here. It says, in Christian belief, grace is the free and unmerited favor of God, as manifested in the salvation of sinners and the bestowal of blessing. So it's this idea that like God's grace just rains down on all of us, even though we don't deserve it, and it's unmerited favor. Like God is just sending you some beautiful blessings in your life, even though you didn't deserve it. And I love that. And in terms of like normal people, like we are not God. We cannot just shower like God's blessings on anybody. Like, we're just humans, we don't have God's exact grace. But can we become vessels for God's divine grace? Can we go inside of ourselves and clean out the different parts of ourselves that, you know, that are holding us back from being kind and from recognizing the innate humanity of other people. Like if we're sitting there feeling an urge to be rude to our spouse, if we're feeling this urge to be rude to our kids, to the people on the street, to people on the internet, if we're feeling that urge, like the urge to be rude is not from God. I really believe that. I'm not going to say that Christians should never be angry. I don't believe that there's never a time and a place for sharpness or for directness of speech. I don't like, I think that there's a time and a place for that. But even then, I feel like there's not always a great excuse for being rude. There's times and places where we have to be very direct and possibly in ways that disrupt the status quo, that make people uncomfortable, that make them upset. Can we be direct and polite at the same time? Even better, can we be direct? Hold on, I'm almost done, baby. I'm almost done. Thank you for your good patience, you small one. Um, I'm so sorry. I lost my brain. I lost my thought. Um, can we still, you know, speak the truths that need to be spoken from a space of kindness and from a space of allowing for that maybe what we think is wrong is our perception, you know? I think that this is one of the biggest issues that comes up in any relationship, a marriage relationship, a dating relationship, a relationship with anybody, are impolite discussions with each other that don't leave space for the other person. Um, and don't leave space for us to be wrong about the other person, like that causes so many problems. When we go into it assuming that we know everything that the other person is thinking, we know their motivations, we know why they did that, and we don't listen to their side of it. We don't leave space for their side of it because we're sure that we're right. Like that is an energy that leads to destruction. It just is. Here's the big takeaway to me: rudeness equals destruction. When we are needlessly rude, or even needfully rude, it, in my opinion, often leaves a trail of destruction. It destroys relationships, sometimes all at once and sometimes a little bit at a time. I'm like suddenly remembering that I was very rude to a friend a full year ago, like exactly, and it destroyed the relationship. And it's not something I would normally do. It was a very weird moment. I'm like, why did I do that? I don't know, because I needed to learn my lesson to never ever be rude ever, because it just destroys lives and we don't have to do that. We can choose to opt out. That is the best thing about rudeness, is that it comes down to the words we speak, the way we speak them, and any body language that's involved in that communication. And those are all things that we get to control. We get to be the boss of that. And if you're feeling like you cannot control that because you have so much in you that you can't even help it, that's when we start working on, the emotional trauma side. Like I run allieduzettclasses.com. That's where I always direct people to go so they can start clearing out the backlog so that you don't have to be rude. That's not just why. Your whole life gets better when you remove these kinds of triggers, but um, you, I mean, we all have control over what we say and how we say it. And it is a skill to learn how to say things in a polite way and to learn how to take a moment when somebody says something horrific to you to like breathe about it and just say, you know what? I can neutralize this. Like, I don't have to perpetuate this. I don't have to attack back. I don't have to attack back. So, okay, where have you been rude? Are you aware of any rudeness in your life? Like, this is something you can pray about. Like, God, can you please show me where I have been rude? Can you please give me a little alert when I'm about to be rude? Can you please put in a little alarm when I have been rude and need to make it right? Can you please increase my awareness of my own rudeness in my own life? And then we just practice changing it. Like I'm thinking of the times that I like realized as a teenager, like, oh, like I'm more rude than I realized. And I had to say, okay, I have to handle this a little differently. It's not always the best choice to just attack someone who disagrees with you. Like sometimes your better course of action is to say, okay, I hear what you're saying. I feel a little differently, but I honor where you're coming from. Um, I don't know. Can we hold space for each other? Really, that's what it is. It's so hard when it's people that we are deeply familiar with, people in your home that you feel like have stressed out your life and your body is like in attack mode against them. It's hard when you're overstimulated. Like I feel like that's the big place where I like still struggle from time to time is like having a whole lot of people having very loud needs and requirements and screaming, and it's all at you for an extended period of time, and your nervous system snaps, and like, oh my gosh, these things are real and they do happen, and we are all under a lot of stress most of the time because of the nature of our modern world. And I just want to honor that. This is not something we have to heal all at once, but I did just want to bring it to our attention for Rosh Hashanah. We have 10 days to really like buckle up and try to make things right where we have been rude, where we have been actively disrespectful to other people and damaged relationships because of it. So, okay, thanks for listening to this TED Talk brought to you by Allie Duzett. Come hang out on Facebook, Intuitive Healing with Allie Duzett. Thank you to everybody who watches this who does embody so much grace and politeness for other people. I have to say, in my Facebook group in the past year, I've had to remove, I think, one person for being very disrespectful. And other than that, people show up and they bare their souls, and everyone else holds the space for that. And even when they disagree, they are kind. And that's what this is all about. Can we just be kind? Can we look at other people and realize they're just humans like us? They're just trying their best. They have their own struggles that we will never be aware of. Can we just allow that? Even if they're in our own house, we say, well, I know what her life is like because she's my kid. She lives in my house. You do not know what her life is like. You don't know what it's like in her brain. You don't know what it's like in her body. You don't know what she's thinking about. You don't spend every single second with her every single day and know exactly everything. Like, we can hold space for even the people that we are closest to be having a very different experience than we think they are having. And that's what this is all about. Can we hold space for everybody to have their own experience? And can we be kind about it, even if we disagree? When we feel like we have to speak out about somebody, can we do it in a kind way that acknowledges, like, I might have this wrong, but my understanding is that this person, supports this and I disagree with it, you know? Um, and then if we are wrong, are we open to hearing that? Are we willing to say, you know what, I was wrong and I'm sorry I thought that? Anyway, okay, well, I have to change a diaper, as you know. So, okay, thanks, guys. See